Okay, I am live. Just want to make sure everybody could hear me. All right, all right. So if you're here watching live, if you can enter in the chat box and let me know that you're here, type in your name, say hi, let me know you're here. Gonna get started in a few minutes, a little bit early. Already. The room is super bright. We are counting down to the webinar. Just want to make sure that people are able to get in. It's almost 6 p.m. Pacific time. Almost starting. I see some people are logging in. If you can hear me and you can see me, then please let me know. There is a chat box available below the screen that you're seeing right now. There should be a chat box available there. So let me know that you can hear me and see me well. I would hate to have to do this and nobody can hear me. All right, it is 6 p.m. We are about to get started. Just want to make sure that everybody can see the presentation, can see and hear me well. So if you can type in the chat box, there should be a chat available. So let me know that you're here, that you can see me, that you can hear well. Let me see. All right. All right, I see Daphne and Yoli, Sherry. All right. Okay. All right, I'll give people a few more minutes to chime in. It is 1 minute after the hour. So thank you guys so much for showing up. I appreciate it. I'm pretty excited to share this information if you can't tell. So we're going to get started pretty soon. So if you don't mind, tell me, how did you even hear about the webinar? In just a few days, I feel like it got spread like wildfire. I mean, 100 people to me is a lot, so I'm curious as to how you guys even heard about the webinar. Awesome. Facebook groups. Oh, very cool. So that means you must be a writer like I am then. I feel like we should get some Rihanna work playing for a little bit to get the energy up. All right, welcome everybody. This is Kimoy Matthews. Just having a little fun before we officially get started. I'm waiting for people to chime in. Awesome. Someone is here from Dreamcatchers group. I love that group. It's one of my favorite groups. Email from work. Oh, we might have some Google people in here. I was pretty excited when one of the managers shared that. It's pretty excited. Don't you like this song? It's so catchy. I'm playing it because it's all about work, right? Work from Rihanna's perspective. All right. Oh, cool. On Twitter too. Okay. Wow, that's pretty good. That's the power of social media. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm so excited to share some of these tips with you guys. I feel like there's a halo back here. It's so bright. I wanted to make sure the lighting was good, but wow, it's pretty bright. But that means you can see me. All right, so it's 6:04. I like to be on time. I don't like to waste people's time. So I am going to get started. So welcome to the webinar. It is titled How to Flip the Job Search Script and Get Recruiters to Contact You. My name is Kimoy Matthews of techcopyexpert.com, and I'm super excited to share this information with you because I want to help people with this job search process. Over the years, I didn't realize it was a formula that I used, but it was something that I did on a consistent basis that helped me to get to where I wanted to go. So I figured I should share this with other people because I've been in those frustrating situations, searching for jobs, not finding the right job, doing it the really old school way. And it's not a good feeling. It's not motivating at all. And I feel like there's a better way. I know there's a better way. So that is why I'm doing this and I'm sharing these tips with you. So what I'm going to do is share my screen so that you can see the presentation. And if you have questions throughout, I'll be checking the chat box, which is below the screen that you're watching. You can type your questions in there now, throughout the presentation, or at the end. So I want this to be interactive, and I want you guys to get as much value out of this. It's free. I mean, what do you have to lose, right? So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Again, welcome everybody. This is Kimoy, and if you're watching right now, you're watching the Flip the Job Search Script webinar. It's a way to get recruiters to contact you. So before I go into my story about how I went from partying in Argentina to California working on a contract with Google, I want to know if any of you have been in this situation. So first thing first, have you been frustrated with the long and boring job applications? I don't know about you guys, but I hate when I have to fill out a job application, right? They ask you all these questions about your past work experience, and they also ask you to upload your resume, and then you have essays and all of this stuff to do. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this process is going to take forever. And that is just for one job. So if you were trying to increase your odds and apply for 10 jobs a day, I mean, that could take up hours. I mean, literally looking for a job could be a full-time job doing this. So if you are frustrated with this process, then let me know in the chat box below how you feel about it. I hope I'm not the only one. Another thing that really is frustrating is not knowing where to start. So I tend to, I notice this pattern with people, especially when I help them with resumes or any part of this job search process. People always come to me and I said, okay, I can help you with your resume. And then I say, okay, what job do you want to apply for? And they have no idea. There are so many options. They don't know where to start. Many people are giving advice on where to go looking for a job. They say things like go to monster.com, go to a networking event, so many options. So it's kind of, you know, you don't know where to start. Where the heck do you start? And this is one of my favorite tips that a lot of gurus and professionals like to dish out. They always say, tap into your network, reach out to your network. And I don't know about you guys, but in my personal experience, networking has worked for many other things, but it has not helped me to land the job that I wanted. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Like, think about it. What are the odds of you going to a networking event, right? And the person who has the exact job that you are looking for is at that particular event? What are the odds? Like I said before, it's a full-time job looking for a job. So I feel like networking is great for other things, but not necessarily to find the job that you want. I know that when I did not follow the process that I'm going to share with you guys, I lost motivation. I didn't follow the process. I started listening to what other people say. And when you're in that moment, when you're unemployed or you're frustrated with your job, people always have amazing advice to you. It seems amazing at that point. It's like, oh, apply for a government job. Oh, make sure you talk to so-and-so. And you can lose a lot of motivation when this happens. It's very frustrating. And sometimes you get to that point where you're like, I'm just going to take whatever job I can get. And I really, really don't want any of you to be in that position. Maybe you have trouble standing out in the competitive job market. I was living in DC for the past 10 years, and when you talk to people, a lot of people have the same job titles. It can be very confusing because you do different things, but you have the same title. You will run into a lot of business analysts, systems analysts, and so forth, and it's very competitive, and you are not sure how to stand out. Maybe you feel that you have great skills, but you're just not sure what you can do to get ahead and get a better job. This one I know is very frustrating for a lot of people. Is the first thing that they do when they need a job is they update their resume, right? And you put your resume out there and you don't get any callbacks, no interviews, you don't hear anything, you don't know what the status is, and that can be really frustrating because you don't get to see a return on your investment. So I have been through all of those situations. And now today, I am here and I'm happy to share a better way to find a job. Right now, I am a technical writer, and of course, I enjoy helping people with their resumes and helping with the job search process. One of the things I wanted to put on here is that I took a 10-month break from work, which is kind of crazy, but it was a dream of mine. I wanted to travel the world. And a lot of people were like, how are you going to explain a gap in your job? So this is that sometimes you have gaps, whether you decide to travel the world like I did, or maybe you got laid off, or maybe you're on maternity leave or paternity leave, whatever the case may be. A lot of people question this whole thing about gaps in your resume. If you follow some of the steps that I'm going to share with you today, you won't have to worry about the gaps. It's all about how you present your skills and how you present yourself. So it is possible. Like I mentioned, this formula, this strategy, once I was ready to come back to the US, I was in Argentina in April, okay? And I applied for, I followed my process. And within 1 month, I was here. So it's been 1 month that I'm in California working on a contract with Google. So yes, Daphne, I agree with you. I hate online applications. And networking, it does sound great in theory, but yeah, I definitely agree. So care of my email inbox. So why am I showing you my inbox? I want to show you that every day, right, there's a recruiter contacting me about a technical writing position. So if you look in the middle in the subject line, you could see technical writer, technical writer, technical writer. And then on the right-hand side, you could see the dates. It's practically every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And this is just the emails. I get phone calls as well. And sometimes I get LinkedIn messages. And this was in April. Here's another screenshot of March and another one. So you can see some commonalities here is that all of these recruiters are contacting me about technical writing positions. And there's a reason for that. Like I mentioned, I am a technical writer. So how does this apply to you? Here are what we're going to work on. I'm going to need you guys to pay attention. You're going to have to write some notes down, okay? Because these are going to be your major takeaways. Number one is you have to be able to name that job. Number two, you have to figure out if you are searchable. Are you showing up when recruiters and employers are searching for you? They're trying to find you, but are you showing up? Then I'm going to share with you some tips and tweaks that you can make to your resume. Then I'm also going to share with you some tips that you can use to capture a recruiter's attention. And then how you can connect with recruiters so that it's basically a partnership to help you find the job that you're looking for. So if you're ready to go, type yes in the chat box so I know that you guys are still there. You can still hear me and see the screen very well. Keep me posted. All right. Yes, yes. Okay, I see you guys. Okay, so the first thing is narrowing your job search. Like I mentioned earlier, some people don't even know what job they want, and some people don't even know the jobs that are available. Okay. In today's market, job titles are getting very creative and they're also very redundant. So here's this funny comic strip that I found. It's about a boss telling his employee that he's being promoted from senior engineer to lead engineer, which really, what is the difference, right? And, he's saying the pay is going to be the same, but, you'll get a little bit more respect. And the employee is like, will I get more respect from you? And the boss is like, it's not magic. That's kind of how it works when it comes to figuring out what skills do you have are aligned with the jobs that are available. You could be a lead engineer, a senior engineer, it's the same title, right? But at company A, it could be a $60,000 position, and at company B, it could be a $100,000 position. So you have to figure out how to know which job titles suit you. And when you think about your own career, where you are right now in your job, how many job titles have you had, right? Even though you're like, you're at a job, right? And you tend to wear many hats. So you don't just do one thing. You have many titles if you look at your job realistically. So here's a list of titles that I have had over the years. Electronics engineer, systems engineer, QA analyst, business analyst, business consultant, technical writer, content strategist, UX writer, and then that one point in my life where I was going through some tough times, I, did what I had to do. I did not follow my process, and I was a bra specialist, you guys. So this is coming from humble beginnings. All right, but a bra specialist, what is that? Sales representative, customer representative, all these different titles are out there. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to combat this? We have to play the detective a little bit. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to LinkedIn, or you can go to Google or even monster.com or any of the major job boards. And you have to type in some of the skills that you have and see what job opportunities are popping up. Okay. Some of you out there are not aware that you have skills that are transferable and can be used in other positions. When you need your resume updated, you need to know what kind of job you're applying for so that you can tailor your resume to these particular jobs. So you need to find about 3 or 4 different titles that matches the skills that you have. The next thing you need to do is figure out which companies are hiring for these positions. And the reason you're doing this is not to go ahead and apply for these jobs. So don't be mistaken, okay? You're not going there to apply the jobs. This is just a moment for you to play the detective, to see what's going on in the job market and see what you're eligible for. The third step is to figure out what types of recruiters have access to these jobs. So let's say that you are in HR, maybe there are HR recruiters. If you are in the medical field, there are medical recruiters, IT recruiters, technical recruiters, etc. You need to know who are the recruiters that are in alignment with your job. And these things are easily accessible on LinkedIn and even a Google search, okay? And last but not least, you have to pinpoint 2 to 3 jobs that you really, really, really want. Those are like, if you were to get those jobs, that would make you happy, okay? So here is your to-do list. Hopefully you're paying attention. When you go to your LinkedIn search, you want to find companies that have already hired for these positions. This will give you a true perspective of what positions are available and who are hiring. Okay? You can't listen to everything that is on the news, and you can't listen to everything that people are telling you. You need to see where companies are already investing in some of the jobs that you're looking at. Then you need to make a list of about 2 to 3 recruiters who are hiring for these positions. All right? Remember, we're playing detective here, so you got to make your list. Then you need to find those job titles that mean the same thing. All right? So in my case, as an example, technical writer, business analyst, and content strategist. A lot of the skills are the same, but it's just different titles, okay? And this right here is the money tip. Are you paying attention? If you're paying attention, type keyword in the chat box. Keyword. You gotta find the common keywords in the job descriptions that you just found and in the job requirements, okay? You have to find the common keywords, and you're going to use these later on in step 2 of this process. So make sure you do not skip this step. So for example, in my case, maybe the common skills across all 3 of those jobs are writing business requirements. Let's say that when I looked up a business analyst position, they want to make sure that I'm able to write business requirements. And the same thing for a content strategist. Those keywords are going to be very important when I'm updating my resume and my profiles, okay? So you have to identify what are the common threads that you see in those jobs. Got it? All right, so we are moving into phase 2. You've played the detective, so now it's time to leave some clues for the recruiters. Okay, you gotta leave clues for the recruiters. So what you need to do is you need to complete your LinkedIn profile. I know it can be tedious, but give me at least 80%. And I'm gonna explain why in a little bit. If you're on monster.com or Dice or Indeed or anything like that, you need to complete those job profiles, okay? Not the job applications, not the long, boring ones. You have to fill out your LinkedIn and any other job board that you belong to. And I'll tell you why in a bit. All right. Those keywords, remember that? On LinkedIn and in the job boards. All of them have space for you to enter a professional summary. Guess what needs to go in the professional summary? The keywords that you discovered earlier in those positions, right? They need to be in that professional summary. The categories and industries, once you did your research and found those companies that are hiring that actually invest money in the positions you're looking for, these kind of words, the keywords, the categories, the industries, those things need to be in your profiles as well. And again, I'm going to explain it in a little bit later. You have to select the skills that matches the job descriptions. In LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to enter your skills. On monster.com, all these other job boards, they have a skills section. You need to fill those out with the relevant keywords. And if you have any blogs, any articles, any portfolio samples, anything like that, you need to put those in your LinkedIn or your job boards. Are you guys paying attention? I hope you are. All right. So why is that? Why do you need to do all of these things? You need to put yourself in the recruiter's shoes. The recruiter is going to go to a database, right? and they're going to search for a particular position that they're trying to fill. Think about it. When they go to LinkedIn, they're going to type in business analyst with IT experience in Washington, D.C. Business analyst, Washington, D.C., IT, those are keywords. And if you selected business analyst as part of your skills, if you put IT as part of your industry, as part of the categories, if you put in these keywords in all of the spots that are available on your profiles, right? Whether you put it in the professional summary, in your work experience, in your skills, in your projects, there are so many opportunities for you to fill in these keywords. The more keywords that you fill in, it's easier for recruiters to find you, okay? Think about it. These recruiters have a bajillion resumes to look through. They're not gonna skim through all the details and the nitty-gritty of all your work experience. They're gonna look for those particular keywords to see if you have what they're looking for and contact you and discuss those details, okay? That's what happens. Nobody has time for all those details. And you have to think about, if you were in their shoes, what would jump out to you immediately? And this is where we come into the next step. I hope you guys are paying attention, okay? This stuff is very simple, but it's also easy to implement. It's easy to overlook as well. But these are the things that will help you become searchable when recruiters are out there looking for you. When they're looking for you, you want to make it easy for them to find you. And here's a really, really fun way to make sure you stand out. Are you visually interesting? Has anybody ever asked you that? Are you visually interesting? Not in person, of course, but online. So I'm going to share with you how you can do that. Let me check the chat box to see where you guys at before I proceed, because this part is really good and I want you guys to get it. For business analysts, I can explain that later on, Sherry. I'll explain that. It was just an example. Okay, so here we go. How you can capture a recruiter's attention. One of the ways to do that is adding links, URLs, links, okay? And nobody I know teaches this process. Nobody I know teaches this process, but it's a really unique way to stand out. Add a link to your LinkedIn profile on your resume. Nobody I know does that at this point, okay? This might seem very simple, but on a resume, it's black and white text, right? It's pretty boring for the most part if you're not, if you don't have a presentable resume. And a recruiter is looking at a ton of black and white text, but there's something about links that are able to stand out. And when you have a LinkedIn profile, if they're looking at your resume, it's just one click away. It's just one click away to connect with you, to see what your experience is like, what your interests are. There's something that is visually interesting to them, okay? So if you don't have your LinkedIn on your resume, you need to add it. Any work samples or related blogs. This is an interesting one because people think that work samples have to be something huge or something out of the extraordinary. Like, work samples could be anything. So let me try to come up with another example for those who are not familiar with business analysts, for example. Let's say that you are a project manager. A work sample could be as simple as a project plan, as long as it doesn't have any sensitive information. You could have a simple link to a project plan in your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. Because we want, from a recruiter's perspective, they want to see something that is visually interesting. If you have a link in your resume to a project plan that you're proud of, it allows the recruiter to interact with your resume. They can click on it and see it, right? It doesn't really matter what the details are. It's like, okay, there's proof that she's a project manager, right? This is just an example, guys. Industry-related keywords. You also want to link to those on your resume. And here's the reason why. There are some recruiters who have positions that they don't really know all of the details of your particular position. So maybe there's a recruiter who needs to fill a computer science job, right? And she's not familiar with what CSS is. So if you made some tweaks to your resume or your profiles, you can add a link to CSS, and it will explain CSS is a method to update websites, right? It's just something that will stand out. If she knows that she has to find a web designer with CSS experience, the CSS part will stand out to her, okay, because you linked to it. This one is my favorite one, and if you go to my website, you will see that I have a video on my website, and I also have it on my LinkedIn profile. And this is a video anybody can create, okay? You don't have to be a professional. I put together some ideas and had someone create a video for me, and the video basically explained what I do. That's it, but it was a fun, interesting way of finding out what does a technical writer do, right? Because not many people know. So it's just a fun thing that you can do to make sure that you stand out. And I can't tell you how many times I've been asked about if I create videos as part of my work, which I do. But because of that video, people find it engaging and interesting. So they are able to have a conversation with me, and it makes me stand out, right? Those of you who are using Instagram and Facebook Live and Facebook, Twitter, everything is about an image, right? If it's a quote, it's an image. All these different things to attract your eye, attract your attention. So you could create a flipogram or a presentation about your skills, right? It's something fun to do. It's a fun way to stand out. And last but not least, there's another thing you can do. So like I just said, on Instagram, there's a lot of quotes on Instagram, right? And people love quotes on Instagram. Well, you could actually apply the same thing on your LinkedIn profile and create a screenshot of a testimonial. Let's say that your boss said, you did an amazing job last month. You've exceeded the goals. It has been great to work with you. You get a quote like that and create an image like you would do on Instagram. And you could link to that on your LinkedIn profile. It's just something that visually is interesting. You could do the same thing with awards or certificates. So I believe on my LinkedIn profile, I have a picture of project management certification. So these are just some fun things you can do to make sure that you stand out, and it's just a way to attract to capture recruiters' attention. Do you have it? How do you like those tips? Tell me in the chat box. I want to make sure that you guys are paying attention. You can do all of these, or you could just do one. Have fun with it. Okay? It's up to you. But do something to make sure that you stand out. So this one is talking about tweaking your resume. A lot of people, when you're in the midst of applying for jobs, they like to say, update your resume. What does that even mean? Update your resume. So I'm going to share some tips that you can actually do that will help you with this job search process. I'm not just going to tell you update your resume. I'm going to tell you what are some things you can actually do. Now, this one is a favorite of mine. Relevant job titles. Remember earlier we talked about how there are many job titles that mean the same thing. They have the same skills, but just a different name. On your resume, you can apply the same principle. So if you have narrowed down your job searches to project manager, program manager, right? You want a project manager or a program manager job. You have the skills, which is very important. You have the skills. But you notice that a lot of the position, that your current position is titled, let's say, project coordinator. Even though you do the same things, you did some research, you played detective earlier, right? A project coordinator, program manager, and project manager. Just an example, okay? You realize that all of your skills match that of a program manager or a project manager. On your resume, you can put project coordinator / project manager, right? Or you could have project manager and you could say you coordinated projects for XYZ, whatever the case may be. But in today's market, people have crazy job titles like chief imagineer of technology or something innovative like that. No recruiter who is searching for engineer is going to search for chief master of creativity, right? They're not going to search for that. So you have to think about what is a recruiter going to search for. I have had job titles such as systems analyst and QA analyst and all these other things. But when I narrowed down what I wanted to apply for, I changed the title on my resume because the skills were the same. Okay, I was wearing many hats. In addition to technical writer, I was doing other things. But the title I want the recruiter is the technical writing title. So that's one tip that you have on your resume, okay? The next tip. So this one is for those of you who are looking for jobs in a different city, state, or even country. Like I told you guys, I was living in Washington, D.C. for 10 years. I was traveling the world, right? And when I landed in Argentina, I said, you know what? I want a job in California. So on my resume, I had, I think I had San Diego, California. That's it. I don't even think I had the zip code. Maybe I do. But I don't put anything else on there. So if you're in Atlanta, for example, and you want to find a job in California, then you need to put the city and state of California on your resume. So that is how I was able to get jobs here and job opportunities here in California. It's just that simple. By the way, you don't have to put your street address. It's a security issue, and you're taking up valuable real estate on your resume. So just put the city and the state of the place that you want to work in. So remember when we were playing detective earlier, there are particular keywords and skills that you found in the job descriptions. Make sure you add those to your resume. Okay, I see a question here. Where do you put the city and state? In the top, usually at the header of your resume. Most resumes have your name at the top, your email address, your phone number, and then city and state. Yeah, you replace your address. You don't have to put your full address on there, just the city and the state, okay? This third bullet point, adding the skills that you found in the job description. Of course, if you have the skills, right, you need to have it on your resume, especially if you found it in the job description when you were doing your research earlier. One of the things that I've noticed when I finish with my client's resume, there I was like, oh yeah, I did that. I did that. Somehow, when you're looking at your own resume, you forget about the skills and experiences that you have. But when you see it in the job description, you're like, oh yeah, I did that. I actually did that. So you don't want to skip any of those opportunities out. If you are looking at a job description of something that you want and you have that skill, right? It's there in your face. Make sure it's on your resume, okay? Please don't forget it. The same thing apply. Those keywords I mentioned earlier, you have to make sure those keywords are in your resume as well. You don't just, put them anywhere. You're telling a story here. If you look at it, you're telling a story. You're showing the job titles of the jobs that you want and experience that you have. Okay, you're telling them where you want to work. You're telling them the skills that you have and the keywords that are related to your industry, so that when they search, those keywords pop up. And I could give you guys a perfect example of how well this works. There is a software called Workday, right? I've used it once for a client, just once. I am not an expert. I was not certified in it or anything like that. I just used it for one particular client. To this day, recruiters are emailing me asking me if I am looking for a position related to Workday, because that particular keyword is very important in whatever industry. And my resume pops up. I'm like, no, I don't want that job. Okay. So keywords are very important. So much so that I make sure that my clients' resumes have at least 80% of the keywords that are relevant to their industry, to the skills, and job descriptions. You have to make sure those are in there so that you're searchable. And last but not least, this is the toughest one for my clients, the toughest one. Your resume is not a dump for your entire work history. I'm going to say that again. Your resume is not a dump for your entire work history. People tend to say, yeah, and they put everything they've ever done on the resume, and it's 2 to 3 pages long. Nope, nope, nope. I have been working for a long time, more than 10 years, okay? And my resume is still 1 page because I don't include everything I've ever done. We talked about this before, right? I've worn many hats, but I don't put everything on there because it's not relevant. I don't want to confuse the recruiter. I want them to be very clear about the skills that I have and the job that I'm looking for. So when they see my resume, they don't see 5 different job titles. They don't see skills from a different industry that's, nothing is related. No, 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 no. You have to tell a consistent, clear story. You need to delete, delete, delete. And this is the hardest part for clients. It's really hard, but no, your resume is not the place for it at all, okay? All right, I hope you guys are enjoying these tips. Let me know. I enjoy your feedback. And we're almost coming down. We have 2 more steps. We're almost done. We're almost done. So you did the first few steps that I mentioned, right? You did some research. You've narrowed down the type of job that you're looking for, at least 2 to 3, right? You did some research. You found the common keywords. You found the common job titles. You found the types of recruiters who have access to these jobs. You made some tweaks to your resume so that you can stand out. And we are here. You are ready. You are primed and ready. If you have not done any of the steps, that I talked about before, you are not ready to connect with any recruiters, okay? Do not go past go. Do not collect $200. All right? Here we go. This is what I did. This is what I did. So I made sure I had my stuff together, right? My resume is looking good. I made sure I have some stuff to help me stand out. I have the important keywords. I have the relevant skills. And I go on LinkedIn. I did some research to find the type of recruiters that hire for my position, like I mentioned earlier. And I introduced myself. It's as plain as simple as that. I do not go asking for a job. Okay, I simply introduce myself and I ask them if they are sourcing for technical writers, right? I'm not begging them or asking them. This is like one of those crazy tips they give you for networking. No, 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 no. All you need to do is introduce yourself and ask if they're sourcing for that particular job right now. If they are, then that starts a conversation. Okay? If they're not, it still starts a conversation. Let me know when you have any technical writing positions available. Okay? That is how you connect with recruiters. In my experience, all of the recruiters, every single email they have, they always ask to call. Like, hey, Kimoy, here's this position. Let me know if you're available. They leave me voice messages. So I call. I always respond. I always call because people can't always tell what your personality is like just from your resume or from your LinkedIn profile. Talking to them has been a huge, huge benefit for me. I've had really great conversations with recruiters. And at some point years ago, I even went in person to the recruiters, the agency that they were working at, and mingled with the people, okay? That is how networking is done for a job, okay? Talk to them, respond to their emails. If you looked at the picture that I showed you guys earlier of my email inbox, you'll see that I responded to almost every one of them. Because I want them to know that I got their message, all right? And it feels really good to say I'm not available right now. And I want the same for you, okay? And last but not least is to keep them posted about where you are in your career. There's one recruiter who I met years ago, Larry, has helped me in so many situations just by being a positive influence. And I would say, hey, I got the interview, or I got hired, or I'm available right now, or I just got my certificate, or I just moved to another state. Like all these interesting points in my career, I keep him updated because you never know. Like that is how networking works. It's just for spontaneous moments, right? Not in the moment when you're like desperate for a job. Okay. So when you hear from these recruiters and they're finding you and contacting you, you just want to make sure that you stay connected. And of course, thank them for helping you. Thank you goes a long way. Remember, recruiters are getting paid to fulfill jobs. This is their job. This is something that's day in, day out, they're trying to find somebody, okay? They are partnering with you. So they're going to be sending you opportunities. And sometimes it might not be what you're looking for, or you might not be available. But you can work with them and develop a relationship so that you eventually find the job that you're looking for. This has worked for me for many years now. And the time that I did not follow this process, I was going through a rough period and then I was listening to what everybody else was saying. It took me like 8 months to find a job, okay? But I trust this process. I believe it works. And even when I was partying in Argentina, in 1 month, I was able to get a job, okay, in another state. So it's possible. It is possible. I want your inbox to look like this. This is what I want your inbox to look like. So let's see, how are we on time? Awesome, this is really perfect. So we have about 10 minutes left to answer any questions that you guys have. So if you have a question, post it in the chat box. I really hope that you guys found this information valuable. Let's see, I'm just gonna stay on to answer any particular questions. Let me refresh my screen. The screen is not clear. Okay, so I got a question. I heard that putting your years of working is bad on your resume. Okay, you don't really put the years you're working on your. Oh, okay. So I see this. So the question is, if you were maybe if you worked at one particular company for 7 years, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's bad. You just have to present your resume so that is interesting to read. You could break that up by, let's say that you got promoted. You could say like from 2001 to 2005, you were, a project manager, and then 2006 to 2008, you were a program manager. So you could break it up by positions if you got promoted. Also, you don't have to make the year like a big highlight on your resume. You have to highlight your titles and the keywords that I talked about earlier. So if you look at my resume, you can see that technical writer stands out right away. Like the years, it's there, but it's not really bolded. It's not, it doesn't jump out, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with the years. For me, when I work with my clients, I don't like to put anything that's older than 10 years, unless it's really, really, really relevant to the job that you have right now, and some of your most current experiences are not as relevant. So that would be my answer to your question. Transitioning your career and don't have the skills or titles, how can you make your resume attractive? So if you don't have the skills, then you shouldn't be applying for jobs that you don't have the skills for. I don't want anybody to be fluffing anything or lying about anything, right? So you need to find a career that you have. If you don't have the skills, then you can get the skills. That would be my answer to your question. There are so many courses out there today that you could get certified in. For example, I know one friend, she was a retail store manager, and she got the opportunity to visit the corporate headquarters of that company and realized that project management was very similar to the skills that she had managing a store. So those skills that she used to manage a store could be transferable to managing a project, right? So think about those skills. What are those particular skills? So on your resume, you would highlight like project management or projects I've managed or something like that. And you would write the relevant skills as your bullet points. So that's kind of how you would stand out in that way. And it's so funny because she was working as a store manager, right? But this corporate job is like paying 2 to 3 times that. And she has similar skills. So it's just learning how to position your skills. So again, so it's For business analyst and technical writing, that was just an example, but there are some relevant skills. They have similar skills. Writing requirements, for example, is something that both positions tend to do. Connecting, interacting with engineers and stakeholders and etc. are things that both positions do. So yeah, it's just doing some research and seeing where skills are applicable. Do the research, play the detective, like I mentioned in step 1. Gathering requirements, yep. So a lot of those have similarities. Any other questions? So if you have similar skills but no job titles, so I mentioned that in the previous slides. So if you could give me a better example, I can show you, I can tell you. But basically, if you don't have the exact title, but you have the exact skills, it's okay for you to put the title on there in the keywords. So let's say that if you could give me an example, I can help you out a little bit more. But if you have the skills, then you should be able to match those job titles and put it in your keywords. So let's say your skill, what to do when you constantly get the you are overqualified. You need to apply for better jobs. Apply for senior roles, apply for more leadership roles. That's what you need to do. You need to up level, step your game up, and apply for better jobs. Do the research, play the detective. Any other questions? Yes, the webinar will be, the replay will be emailed out to all of you guys who signed up. My educational background, engineering, believe it or not. I presented a slide that had all of my job titles. Those are real, those are true. So it is possible for you to, like I said in the beginning, right? As an engineer, I was wearing many hats. As a systems engineer, I was wearing many hats, right? I'm doing testing on satellites, I'm talking to clients, I'm writing requirements, I'm writing. So when I update my resume, I would not focus on the QA testing, right? Because I did not enjoy QA testing and I did not want a job in QA testing. So I took that part off of my resume. Remember, I said to delete with a vengeance. So I kept the parts that I did that were relevant to the job that I want. In other roles, I had, in your role, you do a lot of things. Most people do anyways. Most people wear a lot of hats. They don't just do one thing at their job. So I pick the skills that are relevant to the job that I want, and I keep those in my resume, and everything else, it got to go. All right. Yep, just a couple more minutes, and then I can end the broadcast because I know it's late on the East Coast. Any more questions before we go? Yes, if you're taking classes, you are building skills in your classes. So, and if they're relevant to a job that you want, make sure you have that on your resume. And classes, you usually have samples of work. You're putting together a portfolio. Those are things that you can put on your LinkedIn profile. And you could create links to those on your resume. So if you are in school, if you're earning your MBA or what have you, those, and they're relevant to the job that you want, you put it on there. Okay, I think that is all the questions. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions about the entire job search process, then you just respond to the emails. I see them in my inbox, so I should be very easy to find online. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. You can email me if you have any questions about the job search process. All right. Thank you guys so much, and feliz Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. Awesome. I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Bye. Thank you. Hope it was helpful. I need feedback, so let me know, okay? Let me know. All right. Good night. Bye, guys.